Good morning, all. Today we are going to talk about Laplace equation. So for the past few classes, we are talking about this Laplace equation, del u equal to 0 or minus del u equal to 0. Okay, and with different kind of things. So we have already seen what is the fundamental solution. Okay, fundamental solution we have seen already. Okay, what is the fundamental solution we have seen, and then we have seen like the harmonic things, etc. We have tried to prove. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to do something like regularity. So before that, what we are going to talk about. So far we have seen mostly the Laplace equation. Okay, in the Laplace equation we have seen like minus del u equal to 0 or del u equal to 0. Or some Poisson case means minus del u equal to h also we have seen. So we have seen the fundamental solution. Okay, mostly we have seen the fundamental solution. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to do something for regularity. So before that, we'll see like modifiers. Okay, so and before talking about the modifier, we'll see like Lockley which we have discussed in the last class. So what we have is that we have once again we are going to sit in the R power n space. Okay, omega subset of R power n. So I'm just taking here open set in R power n. And what I'm going to say, I'm going to introduce a notation called subset. Okay, this is written as omega 1 is compactly contained in omega. Okay, what is the meaning of compactly contained in omega? What does it mean is that you take omega 1 subset of omega 1 bar. Okay, omega 1 subset of omega 1 bar and this omega 1 should be subset of omega 1 bar, and then it should be nothing. Not only that, we require that omega 1 subset of omega 1 bar, and then that should be subset of omega. This one should be compact. Okay, so this omega 1 subset of omega bar omegas, that should be compact. So in that case, what we say is that this is called compactly contained in omega. Okay, now what we are going to do is that we are going to think about locally integrable. So what is locally integrable? Let's see. So for locally integrable, we always define it under compactly contained subset. Okay, so we say that LP of L log of P, okay, of omega is nothing but set of all f from omega to r such that, okay, omega to r such that f belongs to LP of omega, okay, LP of omega 1, okay, LP of omega 1, okay, not omega 1 for each omega 1 compactly contained in omega. For example, if I take LP of L log of 1 of omega, that means what you need to do is that you have to take set of all f from omega to r, okay, f from omega to r, such that f belongs to L 1 of, let's say, k, okay, for all k subset of omega where k is compact. Okay, where k is compact. So this is what we call it as a locally integrable function. Okay, so this f from omega to r is measurable. Okay, then we say that this is L log of omega. So in this case, what we say is that integral, okay, integral over omega. Okay, not omega here. So we can just we define, like, if you remember that what we define in LP of omega or L1 of k, we define this way. Okay, f of x into dx should be less than infinity. Okay, we define it on omega here. But here what we are going to say is that we are not going to say it as omega. I'm just going to replace this for each compact subset only. I'm not going to say entire domain. I'm just going to say only for the compact subset of omega where it is going to be less than infinity. Then we say that this is going to be locally integrable. Remember the difference between the, so in the globally, the f belongs to L1 of omega means it should be like f of x dx, okay, it should be less than infinity over omega should be there, okay, over omega. Suppose if I say like f belongs to L1 of omega, but here we are not going to say f is belongs to L1 of omega. you are going to say f belongs to L1 of K, where K is compact. Okay, and the compact set is for all subset of all compact subsets of omega also you have to say. Okay, so that's okay. So once we see some of the examples, you can just understand what is there. So let's see an example. For example, if you just take a constant function, okay, so suppose I take a constant function on real line. Okay, on real line, what is the measure is going to be? The measure is going to be infinite measure. Real line, then measure is going to be infinite measure. So if you just say like, if I just take a constant function, okay, so suppose f of x equal to some c for all x in R. Okay, then if I just want to find what is my integral of f of x dx, okay, so let's say c is positive, then this is going to be c into integral dx is going to come. Okay, so c into dx is going to come. So in this case, suppose I assume c is greater than 2. Okay, c into dx is going to come, but this is going to be infinite because this is over R. Therefore, this is going to become like infinite one. Okay, so that means it is going to diverge. Okay, this integral is going to diverge, means it is not going to have. So it is not globally integrated because integral c dx, we are putting R to R, so this is not going to be there because this is going to become like c into x minus infinity to infinity is going to come. So you will not get anything over here. However, okay, this is locally integrable. So locally integrable means you don't need to work on R. What you need to do is that you take any compact subset of R. Okay, you take any compact subset of R. If you take any compact subset of R, what you can do is that, so suppose let's take K is a compact subset of R. What you can say is that this one you can just in real life, if it is compact means you can just prove that it is closed and bounded. Okay, it is closed and bounded. Therefore, it is bounded means you will always get something like m is going to come. Okay, so this is going to be this K is going to be m is going to come. Okay, so at the maximum, what I can say is that this max it is going to be having some like this K is going to be some bounded subset is going to be there. Therefore, what I can do is that, so if I just collect all the points, okay, set of all points in K, okay, then I can just write that m is nothing but the maximum of K, small m is equal to minimum of K. I can write it. Okay, so what I am going to take is that I am just going to take I can take an interval, okay, which is going to be which I can just say like m is going to be like m less than or equal to x less than or equal to K is going to be m less than or equal to x less than or equal to m is going to come for all x in K. So that means you are going to be sitting, okay, this K is here subset of m comma m is going to come. Okay, therefore what you can do is that here what it is going to come, this is going to become like integral. Okay, so in this case you are going to take only for each compact subset only. So in this case what you are going to check is that whether your K f of x dx is going to be valid or not. Okay, this is going to become like once again c is positive. Okay, so c into dx is going to come, m to m I can write it maximum or less than or equal to I can write it. Okay, less than or equal to m to m I can write it. Okay, over K. So that is going to be something like you are going to get c into m minus m. M is finite, small capital M is finite, small m is finite. Therefore, this is going to be less than infinity. This is true for all K. For each K, you will get different m and small m and capital M. So I can even put mk. Okay, means it depends on the set also. But it is finite. Therefore, you are going to get it is this is going to be valid. Therefore, this constant function is locally integrable, but it is not globally integrable. The same case you can do it for the continuous function also. If you take any continuous function, okay, it is above x equal to 0 is not required, c is not required. You can take any continuous function. Okay, so if you take any continuous function, it is going to be true. Okay, it is going to be true. So f of x equal to c, I have mentioned, c is greater than 0, I have mentioned. If c equal to 0, then you can say that it is going to be globally integrable as well as locally integrable, because you are going to get something like 0 into dx, that is always 0. Okay, so it's not a problem. So continuous functions are locally integrable but not globally integrable. Once again, same reason. So the continuous function, what you can discuss, you are going to apply this over here. So this measure is going to become like, so it's going to become like it is not going to attain that. Okay, it is not going to attain that value, even if you have any continuous function also. Even for the integral function, once again, you are integrating from minus infinity to infinity. Therefore, it is not necessary that you are going to get a globally integrable. Okay, you will get a locally integrable, but it is not necessary that you are going to get a globally integrable. Now let's see one more example. Okay, one more simple example, which is like this. Let's take f of x equal to. Let's take f of x equal to 1 by x. Okay, f of x equal to 1 by x if x belongs to 0, 1. Okay, so let's take this one. F of x equal to 1 by x, x belongs to 0, 1. So in this case, let's see whether it is globally integrable or locally integrable. Let's see. I'm not so far we have discussed on whole R. Okay, the 2-3 examples. Okay, f of x equal to c, we have seen on R. Similarly, a continuous function and integral function on whole R we have discussed. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to see f of x equal to 1 by x on a finite interval only. This is a finite interval only. Okay, means that the interval length is finite. Okay, it is not infinite. But still, we can say that this is going to be not globally integrable. It is going to be locally integrable. Okay, so now if you just see that this is going to be like if I just integrate this one, f of x into dx. Okay, so this is going to become like 0 to 1. That is nothing but integral 1 by x dx 0 to 1. Okay, so this is going to become like log x dx. Sorry, log x 0 to 1. So log 0, we don't know. Log 1 is 0, log 0, we don't know. So we don't know whether it is, so this is not globally integrable. Okay, so because, and this one, it is log 0 is undefined. So it is not globally integrable. However, if you take any compact subset, okay, any compact subset, K, subset of 0, 1, okay, which is not containing 0 and 1, any subset which has a positive distance from 0 and 1, okay, that is bounded on K. Okay, K is a subset of 0, 1 and is closed and bounded is going to be there. Therefore, what we are going to get is that this 0 and 1 is not there. So in that case, what we are going to get is that you are going to get K. Okay, K is going to be there. So f of x dx is going to come. Once again, you will get the same kind of logic which we use. So m and m is going to come. This m and m is not equal to 0, not equal to 1 is going to come. So in that case, what you are going to get? You are going to get f of x dx is going to become like it is going to be bounded. Okay, it is going to be bounded. Means you are going to get the integral is going to come. So it is going to become like less than infinity because m is not equal to 0. This m is not equal to 1. Okay, so that means you are going to get less than infinity. Therefore, it is going to give you the answer. Okay. In general, what you can prove is that this 1 by x is belonging to. Okay, you can just I have defined only for 0, 1. In general, you can just define it for r also. Okay, r is r minus 0. Okay, r minus 0. So this is going to belong to this one. L log of 1. Okay, r minus 0 means this is locally integrable in the entire plane except 0. Okay, so that is also it is true. But if you just include, if you just find this one, it is not going to be globally integrable. Okay, it is going to be locally integrable. Fine. Now I'll just change the function a little bit. What I'm going to define is that I'm just going to define f of x equal to 1 by x. Okay, f of x equal to 1 by x if x not equal to 0 and 0 if x equal to 0. Okay, so this is x not equal to 0 and 0 if x equal to 0. Okay, so in that case, what will happen? So in that case, also it is going to be like locally integrable, but not. Sorry, this is even not locally integrable also. Okay, this is not locally integrable in x equal to 0. This is not even locally integrable at x equal to 0. So if you take any k which is containing this 0, then what you are going to get is that you are not going to get that this is going to be locally integrable. Okay, so this is the one which we defined some of the examples. Okay. Where we use this one, we are going to use it for our modifiers thing and then for proving some of the theorems. But mainly this is used in the case of distribution theory. So when you should go for the distribution theory courses, so in that case, this locally integrable is going to play a huge role. Okay, so in that case, it is going to be there. Fine. Now we'll see some of the theorems for this locally integrable. So before we go for the modifiers. So some of the theories, like you can just prove that the locally integrable functions form a linear space, okay, and locally L log of P is complete metrizable space. Complete means what we mean, like we just take a convergence, a Kaji sequence which is converging. Okay, so those things definitions you got up. Also, if f belongs to LP of omega, which is always a locally integrable function. Okay, because f belongs to LP of omega, means it is going to be local, which is obvious. Okay. Now we'll just take this theorem. I'm not going to give any proof of this one. Okay. So this is called Lebesgue differentiation theorem. In Lebesgue differentiation theorem, what we are having is that we have function. Okay, a function f from r power n to r is locally integrable. Okay, I'm just using the locally integrable. So in this case, what we are having is that we have for almost every point in x naught r power n. Okay, so the Lebesgue integration theorem is saying that for almost every point in x naught in r power n, what we have is that we have something like integral. Okay, f dx converges to f of x naught. Okay, so x naught is in r. Okay, for almost every x naught in r power n. Okay, x naught in r power n. What we have is that integral f dx. Okay, integral f dx on a ball b of x naught comma r, okay, tends to f of x naught as r tends to 0. So the question is where the differentiation is coming to the picture here. Okay, where the differentiation is coming to the picture, I just leave it as an exercise to you. Just identify where that differentiation is coming to the picture here. Okay, because I'm just saying here integral f dx equal to converges to f of x naught, but I didn't say anything about differentiation here, so just leave it as an exercise for you, or just think of it where the differentiation is coming to the picture here. Okay, the same thing, or equivalently you can write the same thing as follows: f minus, okay, f dx f of x minus f of x naught. Okay, so in the b of x naught comma r tends to 0 as r tends to 0. Okay, both are almost equal. So the point 2 at which this is holding, okay, the point at which 2 holes is called Lebesgue point of f. Okay, the point at which 2 holes is called Lebesgue point of f. Okay, so there is a small difference between the first and 2, so you can just see like what is the difference. Okay, so first one is f dx converges to f of x naught, whereas in the second one we are just taking only the mod of f of x minus f of x naught. So this is converging f dx converges to f of x naught. Okay, whereas this is something different. So just find what is the difference between this one. This is nothing but mod f of x naught minus f of x naught into dx. Okay, into dx converges to 0. Here f dx converges to f of x naught. It's a small difference. Okay, here you are taking f of x minus f of x. Okay. Now let's come to the modifier. So as I mentioned already, we have something called what we have is that we have the fundamental solution which we got. Almost the modifiers is going to be similar from that idea we are going to get. What we have is that we have something called we have something called modifiers. Okay. So in modifiers, what we have is that we have something like okay. In modifiers, what we are going to do is that we are going to we know the functions like we have seen a similar function like this. Okay, so almost in the modifier, so in the statistics or probability, you may have studied a function like this. Okay, like Gaussian distribution, etc. Where you might see that there will be a compact circle. Means after this one, so up to here it will be like it is going to be positive or some non-zero is going to be there, whereas after this it is going to become like 0. Okay, so this thing which I am calling it as compact support. Okay, compact support. Okay, what is the compact support means? Okay, our support of a function. Okay, support of a function. Okay, first we'll see what is support of a function. Support of a function, for example, if I say support of a function, this is nothing but set of all x such that f of x is not equal to 0. Okay, so this is called support of f. So compact support means this support of f which I am collecting, okay, this set of all non-zero should be a compact set. then we say it is compact support. So compact support of that. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to see like what is the support of some function. Okay, the support of a function means where it is going to be non-zero. That is the only thing, only the difference. Okay, now for modifiers, what we are going to do is that for modifiers we can just define something. So you just say like some f(x) is there, where you define something less than k, you define something, and greater than k, greater than or equal to k, you define something. Okay, so something you can define. So here I define 0, here I define something non-zero. Okay, so in that case we just some other additional properties are there, like for to be a modifier there are some additional properties are there, like why I mentioned here the distribution is there. So we know the probability distribution function, it has this property that f dx equal to 1. Okay, this is a property. Suppose this is a probability density function, what you can say is that this minus infinity to infinity, for example, you might have seen in the probability course, is nothing but the one of the properties of the probability density function. Almost similar kind of things here. Okay, in modifiers, what we are going to do is that we are going to define as something similar to that. Okay, in the compact support or the support. Okay, support of f. So at some places it is going to become 0. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to say this f dx is also should be 1. Integral f dx should be 1. Then we call it as like this. There are two more conditions are there. So if those conditions are satisfied, then we call it as a modifiers. So for example, this is a simple modifier. So for example, eta belongs to c infinity of r power n. Okay, that is one condition, c infinity of r power n. Okay, defined by eta of x equal to, okay, this is called eta of x equal to c into exponential of 1 by mod x square minus 1 if mod x is less than k or less than 1. Okay, and 0 if mod x is greater than or equal to 1. In general, you can just define this also, x square minus k you can define and k you can put it. Okay, but here we are just saying only the standard modifier, so I'm just keeping only this one. Okay. Now for some constant c, you got to choose your constant c in such a way that, how do we choose this one is that we got to choose c such that, okay, choose c such that integral eta of x dx equal to 1. Okay, then we call it as eta as a standard modifier. So in that case we call it as eta as a standard modifier. So this is over r power n. Okay, not only this, there are some more things are there. Okay, so let's see. For each epsilon, what we need to have is that for each epsilon, okay, for each given epsilon greater than 0, what you need to find is that you got to find what is your eta of epsilon x. Okay, eta of epsilon x is nothing but it should give you that 1 by epsilon n. Okay, 1 by epsilon n means you are applying it over the eta of x. It should give you that 1 by eta power epsilon x by epsilon should come. Okay, so if you apply it over here, you will get that, because you are going to get that eta of epsilon x. Okay, means you are going to apply this one over here. What you are going to get is that you are going to get this epsilon is going to come out of this one. Okay, that means you are going to get something like epsilon power n is going to come. Okay, so that also we have to satisfy. So this also should be satisfied. Eta of x by epsilon. So that is a relation between eta epsilon x and eta of n. Okay, so that also we need to say. For each epsilon, we can just define this one. Okay. Okay. Now, from this one, since eta of x by epsilon is belonging to eta is belonging to theta power r power n, this is some constant only. 1 by epsilon is some constant only. Therefore, you can immediately prove that this is going to become eta of epsilon of x is eta of epsilon is belonging to c infinity of r power n, because of this one. Okay, this is infinitely differentiable. Exponential function, this is infinitely differentiable. Also, I can prove that. Okay, also I can prove that integral over r power n. Okay, integral over r power n eta of epsilon x dx equal to 1. Also, you can prove it. Okay, so you just apply it over here. What you are going to get? You are going to get eta of x by epsilon is going to come. You are going to take. You are going to apply this one. Okay, you are going to apply this one. So if I just calculate what is my dx, that is going to give you x by epsilon is going to come. So if I substitute some variable over here, okay, if I just substitute y equal to x by epsilon, if I suppose substitute y equal to x by epsilon, Okay, then what we are going to get for dx is that we are going to get dx is nothing but we are going to get something like epsilon y is going to come. That is going to become like epsilon power n y is going to come. Epsilon power n will get cancelled. We'll get integral eta of x dx is going to come, but integral eta of x dx is 1. So you are going to get that. Okay. Apart from that, you have seen that the support of eta is nothing but minus 1 comma 1. Okay, this is going to become like minus 1 comma 1 is going to come for this one. Now for this eta of epsilon, you can see that this is going to become like a if you just see that in the one dimension. If you are just seeing it in the n dimensional case, this is going to become like d of. So if it is 1D case, okay, if it is 1D. If it is a n dimensional, what you are going to get is that you are going to get p of 0, 1 is going to come for this one. Okay. In the case of eta of epsilon of x, the support is always going to be the subset of p of 0, epsilon is going to come. Okay, it is going to be a subset of p of 0, epsilon is going to come. So you can verify that easily because there is a scaling over here. So here it is 1, here it is x by epsilon. So therefore that scaling is going to get over there. Okay. So support of this is the definition of support of f. This is about x such that f of x not equal to. So x belongs to the domain where the function is defined. Fine. Now let's see next one. Some properties of modifiers. Okay. So before that, there is a modification is there. So if some function is given, what you can do is that you can define modification also. So we have seen what is modifier. Now we are going to see what is modification. So in modification is a process. Okay, modifier is a definition of a. So for a function we are saying a modifier. So modification is a process. So modification, what we are doing is that you take a function. Okay, you take a function which is locally integrable, and then what you can do is that you can just convolute with the modifier. You convolute with the modifier, that is called modification. That's all. You take a locally integrable function, okay, and then convolute with the modifier, then that is called modification. Okay, omega to r is locally integrable. Okay, it is locally integrable. We take a locally integrable function, then we define a modification. Okay, modification is nothing but what we have is that we just define f epsilon. Okay, I just define at the top. Okay, f epsilon is nothing but eta of epsilon convoluted with f. Okay, so convolution of eta, the modifier, and f, that is called the modification. So what is convolution? Already you know the definition of the convolution. The convolution is nothing but, so f epsilon of x is nothing but, you can just define that. Okay, eta of x, eta epsilon of x minus y into f of y dy. Okay, so over omega, or what you can define is that you can just define it like the same way. Okay, because this eta of x is going to be defined only in the although I define omega, this is going to be the support is only under b of 0, epsilon only. It is going to be non-zero, otherwise it is going to become 0. Therefore I can just define that as p of 0, y, so 0, epsilon, because this is defined on epsilon radius only. Okay, p of 0, epsilon, eta epsilon of x into f of x minus y into dy, where x belongs to omega. Okay, this is called the modification. X belongs to omega epsilon. This is called the modification of the function. So in this case, this f epsilon of x is going to become like 0 if it is this x is belonging to not in omega, or means it is not in b of 0, y. Okay, in that place it is going to become like a 0. So that is called a modification. Fine. So these are some of the properties of modifiers. Okay, so let's see the properties of modifiers. So I'll just prove 1, 2, 3, and I will just leave the third one as an exercise. It is a little bit more on LP, but we are not worried about that at the moment. So we just prove some of the properties of modifiers. So f epsilon is belonging to C infinity of omega, which is very easy to prove. We just I will just give you the proof. Okay. So from the definition itself, almost you can understand that. Okay, f epsilon is going to be like eta of epsilon into f is there, so we can understand that what is going to be there, but we can just prove it like what is going to be there. Okay, Venki, சொல்லுங்க. Hello. Omega e. So we know what is the FF long definition. So FF long is nothing but FF long of x is nothing but integral eta epsilon of x minus y into f of y dy on omega. Okay, and omega. So then now what we are going to do is that f is a locally integrable function, right? So that means it is going to be for each compact subset of this one, it is going to be there. Okay. So now what I am going to do is that I am just going to apply the difference between this one f epsilon of x plus hi, okay, minus f epsilon of x divided by h. Means I am just why I am finding this, because I am just trying to find what is the directional derivative of this one. Okay, that's the reason I am just applying this one. What is the directional derivative of this one? I am just going to find it there. So that's why I am just going to apply here. So that is going to become like integral omega, okay, eta of epsilon of x minus y is going to come, x plus h minus y is going to come. So now what I am going to do is that I am just going to use the so that is fy dy is missing here. Okay, just remember that fy is missing here. So eta epsilon of x plus hi minus y minus eta epsilon of x by h into fy dy is going to come. Okay, so here what you are going to get is that I am going to apply the eta of epsilon definition. So after the eta of epsilon definition, you have 1 by epsilon power n. Okay, 1 by epsilon power n eta of x plus hi minus y. Okay, I am just going to take the h also outside, so I can just put that 1 by h also here. Okay, hy by epsilon. Okay, by epsilon minus eta of x by epsilon, okay, into f of y dy. Okay, so this I am just going to define this f of y is defined only on the locally integrable function, so I am just going to put it like omega. Means I am just going to define it only on the compact subset, compactly contained set only. Okay, because otherwise this f may not be defined on the other places. Okay, because this integral may not exist at the other places. That's the reason I am just going to put omega 1, because this is going to be defined only on the compactly contained interval. That's the reason I am keeping this. Okay, other places it may not be. So I am just using the locally integrable function definitions only. Now if I just concentrate only this one, okay, so if I just concentrate only this 1 by h, this part, okay, 1 by h, this part. Then what we have is that 1 by h eta of x plus hy minus y by epsilon minus eta of x by epsilon. What is it going to become like? Okay, sorry, here there is a mistake here. So it should be x minus y should be here. Here x minus y should be here. Okay, x minus y. Okay. Now if we just find what is this, what is this term? Okay, I'm just going to concentrate only this one. 1 by h. Okay, 1 by h into eta of x plus hy minus y by epsilon minus eta of x minus y by epsilon. Okay, only this part. Now, what do we know? As h tends to 0, this eta is infinitely differentiable. C infinity of r power n, right? Therefore, if I just apply this h tends to 0, what we are going to get is that this is going to tends to, okay, this is going to become like 1 by epsilon. Okay, so I'm just going to apply the properties of the dou eta by dou xi. So this is going to become like dou eta by dou xi. Okay, dou eta by dou xi of x minus y by epsilon, and then I have a epsilon also here. So this is nothing but if you apply the definition of the derivative, what you are going to get is that 1 by epsilon dou eta by dou xi x minus y by epsilon is going to come. Since eta is differentiable, this is going to exist. Okay, since this is going to exist, what this is going to become like? This is going to become like 1 by epsilon power n. Okay, 1 by epsilon power n. 1 by epsilon power n. Okay, so this is going to become like integral 1 by epsilon. Okay, dou eta by dou xi. Okay, dou eta by dou xi of x minus y into f of y dy is going to come. Okay, means it is not equal, it is going to, as h tends to 0, this is going to become like. So this side, if h is tending to 0, what is this going to become? This is going to become like dou f epsilon of x, dou epsilon of x by dou xi. Okay, it's going to come. Okay, so once again you can just put that either omega 1 or omega, because we are just using the properties of the locally integrable function, this omega 1 or omega 1 doesn't matter. So this is the one which you are going to get it from this one. Okay, so now if you just extend this further, okay, so that means what we find is that we want to prove that this is going to exist. Okay, this f epsilon, this dou f by dou xi is existing. Okay, that means what is df? Df is going to become like df is nothing but dou f by dou xi, dou f by dou f by dou x1, dou f by dou x2, etc. Dou f by dou xi is df. So each one is going to be existing. Therefore, df is going to exist. Therefore, this f epsilon, okay, f epsilon. Therefore, what you are going to get is that your f epsilon belongs to now C1 of r power e. Okay, that we have proved. Now, again apply the same thing. Okay, now take this one as something like capital F. Let's take this is capital F epsilon. Then apply the same logic again and again. What you are going to get is that since this dou eta by dou x is infinitely differentiable, every time you got to see like whether this is going to be there or not, because this is not going to affect this one, because this f is locally integrable. So you can play with one with omega 1 and omega always. So you are going to get that d alpha. So it is going to become like, if you just apply the same logic, okay, this same logic, what you are going to get is that if you are applying d alpha of f epsilon, okay, f epsilon of x, what you are going to get is that you are going to get something like some integral is going to come. Okay, this f epsilon or something, you can just push it over here or just forget about that. Okay, so some constant is going to come into what you are going to get is that you are going to get something like integral d alpha of eta of d alpha of eta of x minus y into f of y dy is going to come. That's it. Okay, therefore what you can prove is that f belongs to C infinity of omega e. Okay, omega epsilon, because this is not going to be there for all things. It is going to be in the subdomain only. Okay, because of the epsilon is involved. So that you can do it. Okay. Now, using the Lebesgue integration theorem, what you can prove is that you can just do that. Okay, using the Lebesgue integration theorem, what we have is that limit r tends to 0, d of x comma r, okay, d of x comma r, f of x minus f of y. The modulus of f of x minus f of y is going to 0 as r tends to 0. Okay, that is the Lebesgue differentiation theorem. That we are going to use it for now. Okay, that theorem we are going to use it for. So what we are going to do? So fix a point x, okay, fix a point x. Let's take a point x, okay, x in omega. Okay, fix a point x in omega such that, okay, such that limit r tends to 0, okay, integral average integral f of x dx, okay, f of x minus f of x f of y, okay, f of y minus f of x, okay, tends to 0 as r tends to 0. This is on the part p of x comma r. Okay, so now what we are going to do, I just put limit here, so you can just put equal here, equal to 0. So now what we are going to do, we are trying to find what is the f epsilon from this one. Okay, we are going to use this one and then trying to find whether f epsilon is converging the same way. Okay, f epsilon of x minus f of x, f epsilon of f of x. Okay, we are trying to prove that f epsilon converges to f. We are trying to prove almost everything. Okay, so that we are trying to find. So this is going to be modulus of integral. Okay, so you put the integral. Okay, integral p of. I'm just going to define only on the epsilon radius, because other than that, it's eta epsilon is going to become like 0. Therefore, I'm just going to keep that. So d of x comma epsilon, okay, eta epsilon of x minus y into f of y dy. Okay, so this should be defined on omega, but this eta of epsilon x minus y is eta of epsilon is not valid outside the ball b of 0 comma epsilon. Since it is x minus y, I'm just keeping b of x comma epsilon. Okay, so there is no difference in that. Fine. Now one more thing is that, so this is f of y minus, okay, so f of x definition also I got to apply. So f of x is going to become like, if I just apply the definition of f of epsilon, what I can do is that I can just put that integral, okay, because I can just write this thing, okay, eta of epsilon of x minus y into f of x dy, f of x into dy. Okay, how this is true on b of x comma epsilon? Okay, I will tell you how it is true. See, I can write f of x equal to f of x into 1. Okay, what is f of x into 1? F of x into 1 I can write it as f of x into integral p of 0 comma epsilon into eta of epsilon of x into dx. Okay, because these two are same. Okay, same thing I can write it as f of x into integral p of x comma epsilon eta of x minus y into dy. Okay, this is like with respect to dy only I am doing, so I can just put this was inside. Okay, so therefore this become like integral p of x comma epsilon eta epsilon of x minus y into f of x into dy is going to come. Okay, so that's what I am substituting here. Therefore, this is going to become like, I can just write this as integral d of x comma epsilon, okay, eta of epsilon of x minus y, I can take it common, okay, into fx fy minus fx, so here dy is there, into dy. Okay, now I'm just going to bring this inside. Okay, so this I can write it as integral b of x comma epsilon, okay, eta epsilon of x minus y, okay, eta epsilon of x minus y into fy minus fx into dy. Okay, I can write this one. Now this is less than or equal to, okay, this is less than, of course equal to also you can put it 1 by epsilon power n, okay, 1 by epsilon power n beta of x comma epsilon eta of x minus y by epsilon into f of y minus f of x into dy. Okay, now eta belongs to c infinity of r power n. Okay, this is infinite differentiable. So this is going to be like this is going to be on the compact support only, it is going to be there, and this is going to be bounded. Okay, this is going to be a bounded one. Therefore, what you can do is that this is less than or equal to. I'm just going to take all these things together. Okay, I'm just going to take some constants over here. So I can just write, including this c epsilon here. What I can write is that I can just write this as p of x comma epsilon modulus of f of y minus f of x into dy. Okay, I can write even c1 also here. Okay, this I can just now I will just multiply and divide by the average integral things, alpha n etc. Alpha n epsilon power n minus 1, so that you can 1 by alpha n epsilon power n you can multiply. So in that case, what you will get is that you can just get that this is less than or equal to, I can just put that as c, and here I can put that some bar. Okay, p of x comma epsilon into bar is going to come. Now, as epsilon tends to 0, okay, as epsilon tends to 0, what you are going to get, this inner part is going to, this is going to become, using this property, okay, this is going to tends to 0, okay, this is going to tends to 0 as epsilon tends to 0. Therefore, what you got, f epsilon of x minus f of x tends to 0, okay, therefore, f epsilon of x converges to f of x, almost everywhere. Okay, fine. Now, same way, okay, so this is done. Okay, this is using the property we got done as epsilon tends to 0. Suppose f belongs to c of omega. Okay, suppose f belongs to c of omega, and it is given given that omega 1 subset of omega 1 is compactly contained. Now what you are going to choose is that you are going to choose your omega 1 compactly contained in omega 2 and compactly contained in omega. Okay, so in that case, what you are going to get is that you are going to get since f is continuous, okay, f is continuous and it is dependent on a compact set. What you are going to get is that it is going to be uniformly continuous also. Now, from that, what you can prove is that this is uniformly continuous. So in that case, what you can prove is that this is going to converge uniformly also. This f epsilon of x and f of x is going to converge uniformly also. Okay, this is uniformly continuous, and using those properties, what you can do is that it is going to converge uniformly also when x belongs to omega 1. Therefore, if f epsilon converges to f uniformly on omega 1. So, proof of part 4, I am just leaving it as an exercise. Okay, now let's see the regularity. Okay, what is regularity? So this is one thing, very interesting thing. What we have is that we have something called we have already seen the Laplace equation solution using the fundamental solution, right? So now, what do we expect for our Laplace equations to be solved? How do what type of you expect? We want a smooth solution, right? If we want a smooth solution, what we want is that, see, we have the function like we have the problem like del u equal to 0. So if we just remember my first or second class of lecture, what we expect is that we want at least that u should be c square omega, because my problem is second order partial differentiation. If it is second order partial differentiation, at least I expect u belongs to c square omega. Okay, that's the one I expect. But in the case of regularity, so in this problem, what we are going to get is that the c square u belongs to c square omega is satisfying this harmonic property. Harmonic means u belongs to c square omega is harmonic. Then what we are going to claim is that this is going to be the we are going to claim that u belongs to c infinity of omega. That means it's an interesting and golden opportunity, or a very enjoying property. We can say what we expect is that we expect c square omega, but what we get is that we get a c infinity of omega we are getting. Okay, c infinity of omega we are going to get. We are expecting c square of omega, we are getting c infinity of omega. That means you have a land. Okay, in that land you are trying to put a hole and then trying to extract some water. But instead of water, what you are going to get is that you are going to get something like a gold. Okay, what you expect is water, but what you are getting is a gold. Okay, so that is nothing but this one. So you are expecting at least twice differentiable. Okay, but you are getting infinitely differentiable function. Okay, so harmonic functions are automatically infinitely differentiable. That is called, it is called regularity theorem. Okay, so this is the algebraic structure of Laplace equation leads to analytic detection of the partial derivatives of u. Although it's second order PDE, although u exists, although it's a second order PDE, only second order PDE we have, but we are getting a infinitely differentiable solution. Okay, if its u is harmonic. So that's what we are trying to prove now. Okay, so what is the theorem is that if u belongs to c of if u belongs to c of omega satisfies the mean value property. Okay, if u belongs to c of omega satisfies the mean value property. So we know the mean value property. Okay, satisfies the mean value property. We know what is the mean value property, right? Okay, so mean value property for each ball. Okay, for each ball b of x comma r. Okay, then what this theorem is claiming is that u belongs to c infinity of omega. Okay, so for this we are going to use the modifiers, locally integrable, etc. is going to be useful. Okay, so let's take eta. Okay, eta be a modifier, standard modifier. Eta be a standard modifier. Okay, let's take eta as a standard modifier. Now, if you see the definition of eta of x, okay, eta of x we have defined like this: c into exponential of 1 by mod x square minus 1. Okay, so this is although defined on x. Okay, this I can just write like r. If I just put r equal to mod x, okay, what I can say is that also we define like mod x less than 1 and 0 if mod x greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1. So I can just rewrite this as eta r equal to integral c exponential of 1 by r square minus 1 if r less than 1, 0 if r greater than or equal to 1. Okay, same thing. This is same thing. Okay, this is same thing. That means it's a radial function. Okay, it's a radial function. Now what I am going to define is that I am going to define a modification of this u belongs to c omega. Okay, u belongs to c omega is continuously differentiable. Therefore, this is going to be integrable. Okay, if it is integrable, it is locally integrable. Okay, globally integrable does not mean that it is locally integrable does not mean that globally integrable, but globally integrable will give you the locally integrable conditions to be there. So u belongs to c of omega. Therefore, u is belongs to locally integrable. Now, what I can define is that I can define my u epsilon, the modification. The modification is going to become like eta of epsilon convoluted with u. Okay, u of epsilon is convoluted with u in omega epsilon. Okay, so I just pick some epsilon greater than 0. I just pick some epsilon greater than 0 and I define u epsilon equal to modification of eta of modification of u. Okay, in omega epsilon. But what is omega epsilon here is that x belongs to omega such that I'm just going to define that. Okay, omega epsilon such that distance between x comma dou omega is greater than epsilon. So this is what I call it as omega epsilon. Okay. Now what we are claiming is that we are going to show that by the properties of modifiers, what we are claiming we can just show that by the properties of the modifiers, u belongs to c omega. Okay, if u is locally integrable, we have proved that u epsilon belongs to c infinity of omega epsilon. So it's the same way what you can prove is that using the properties of the modifiers, what you can prove is that u epsilon belongs to c infinity of omega epsilon. Okay, u infinity of c omega epsilon. Now what we are claiming, what we are going to prove is that we know this property also from the modifiers. We know that u epsilon tends to u. Okay, almost everywhere. That we know because of the properties of the modifier. Now what we are going to prove is that not only u epsilon tends to u, we are going to prove that u is identically equal to u epsilon. Okay, on omega e or in omega e. Okay, in omega e. That's what we are trying to do. Okay, we are not only claiming that u epsilon belongs to u, that is immediately from the property. We are claiming that u is going to u is identically equal to epsilon on omega epsilon. That's what we are going to claim. So let's claim that. If that is claimed, what you can prove is that, see, if this is claimed, what you can prove is that u equal to epsilon in omega epsilon, what you can claim, what you can prove is that already you know that u epsilon belongs to c infinity of omega epsilon. Okay, so if u is identically u epsilon, then you can prove that u belongs to c infinity of omega epsilon. This epsilon is arbitrary, therefore this omega you can just take union of many such omega epsilon. Therefore this u is going to belong like c infinity of omega. That's what we are going to do. So now only thing remaining is that we got to prove that u equal to epsilon in omega epsilon. That's the only thing we need to do. Okay, let's try that. So let's try that from the definition. So u epsilon of x is nothing but integral. We know the definition. Okay, the definition is eta epsilon of x minus y. Okay, into u of y into dy. Okay, over omega. Okay. Now this is valid only in the domain like after the apart from that b of x comma epsilon, this is going to be 0. Therefore, I can just write this as b of x comma epsilon. Okay, b of x comma epsilon eta epsilon of x minus y into u of y into dy. Okay. Now, what is the definition of this one? We can just write that as, we can write this as p of x comma epsilon. Okay, eta of x minus y by epsilon into u of y dy. Okay, so this is nothing but one more thing is that 1 by epsilon power n. Okay, so this I can write it as x minus y or mod x minus y because we have proved that this we have shown that eta is a radial function. Okay, using that you can just rewrite this. Okay, r what I can write. So if it is 0 comma epsilon, that will become like r. So this is going to become like again radial function. So I can write rewrite this one as eta of r by epsilon. I can write, okay, and I'm just going to transform this b of x comma epsilon on a ball to surface into one. So that one we have already shown in last class. So if we have something like ftx on r power n, so what we have done is that we have done something like 0 to r. For example, if I just take minus infinity to infinity, actually it will come. Okay, minus infinity to infinity will come. So if I just take instead of r power n, if I take some b of x comma r, so in this case, what it is going to become like, this ftx is going to become like integral 0 to r something, okay, into integral dou b of x comma r into, this is going to be, this part is going to be, this is going to be one dimension less. Okay, this is going to be dxn minus 1. I can put dxn minus 1 means one dimension less. This is going to be 0 to r. So same thing we can use it over here. What I'm going to get is that I'm going to get 1 by epsilon power n integral b of 0 comma x comma epsilon. I'm just going to use it like changing the transformation to polar coordinates. So what you are going to get is that you are going to get 0 to r, okay, eta of r by epsilon into, okay, integral dou b of x comma r x comma epsilon u of y into d of sy. Okay, this is surface integral into dr. Okay. Now this is a ball of radius. This is a ball of radius epsilon. So we can just find what is ds by. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to take there should be less than or equal to that it should be equal. So what it is going to become like this u of y. Okay, this u of y, I'm just going to apply the properties of the modifiers. So in that case, what we are going to get is that this one you have already seen in your del u equal to 0 difference in mean value property, that we have seen that. So this is going to become like what it is going to become. This is going to become like 1 by epsilon power n. Okay, 1 by epsilon power n integral 0 to r eta of r by epsilon. Okay, eta of r by epsilon, and I'm just going to take this ux out because this ux is like a constant is going to come. Okay, so I'm just going to take it out and I'm just going to take only the d of x comma y. So this is going to become like u of x. Okay, as epsilon tends to do, this is going to happen. So u of x, okay, into what you are going to get. Okay, you are going to get d of sy. So d of sy is nothing but so we are using this u of x equal to constant over. Okay, so u of x is going to be constant, so you are going to take it out. So d of sy. So d of sy is nothing but you are going to get n into alpha of n into, okay, r power n. So r power n is nothing but here it should be epsilon power n minus 1. Okay, so there is a mistake here. This would be epsilon. This would be epsilon. Okay, so this is also epsilon, not r. This is p epsilon. Okay, eta of n epsilon power n minus 1 into dr. Okay, but this is going to be d of x comma epsilon. Okay, so here I have a differentiation with respect to r, so I just replace this one with r. Okay, because this is just dummy variable, I'm just replacing with r. Okay, r power n minus 1 is going to come. If I just integrate this one, once again, what you are going to get is that you are going to get that eta of r by epsilon. So n into alpha n r power n minus 1 can take it out. Okay, n into alpha n r power n minus 1 can take it out. You just differentiate this one with respect to r. So you are going to get like r power n is going to come. So epsilon power n will get cancelled, and dr is there. So therefore n into alpha n is also going to get cancelled. So what you are going to get is that, so this is going to become like, this is going to become like u of x into integral dou b of 0 comma epsilon or d of 0 comma epsilon. Okay, eta of epsilon of dy is going to come. Eta epsilon dy is going to come. Okay, so eta of r by epsilon. So this is going to become like this one. But what is this one? This is 1. Therefore, you are going to get u of x. So what you started is, you started with u epsilon of x, but you ended with ux. Therefore, what you got? This x is arbitrary. Okay, x is arbitrary. Therefore, you are going to get u epsilon is identically equal to u on or in omega epsilon. This epsilon is arbitrary. Therefore, you are getting the proof. That's all.